Hi everyone, welcome back to Say What You Mean, an English learning channel. I'm Chris. How's everyone doing today? I hope you are stupendous. I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. English is hard, right? So listen, speak, and say what you mean. Today's topic is what I prefer, part 1. What I like more than something else. This listening video is for beginners, A level. So listen closely and let's get to work. Do you like coffee? Do you like tea? Do you like soda? Maybe you like all three. At a restaurant, do you order 3 drinks? Or do you choose 1 drink? Normally 1 drink. So, I said in my older videos that I like drinking tea. I like tea more than I like coffee. I prefer tea. I love drinking tea, and I don't like coffee. So, when I'm at a restaurant, I always order tea. If I have to choose, well, I prefer tea. So, I choose tea. We have different forms to talk about what we prefer. I will not cover them all in this video. We will cover 4 forms. So let's listen to some examples. Form 1. In the first form, we only say what we prefer. We only say the one thing we choose. The form is, I prefer noun. So, let's listen to these questions and answers. Chris, what do you prefer? Tea or coffee? Did I list the choices? Tea and coffee? Yes, I did. I prefer tea. Did I say both? Or did I say the one I choose? Yeah, I said what I prefer. What do you prefer, Chris? Beer or wine? I prefer beer, but my wife, Kristen, prefers wine. What do you prefer, Chris? Tennis or baseball? I prefer baseball, but my friend Bob prefers tennis. That's the first form. The second form is I prefer A to B. A is what you choose. B is what you do not choose. Chris, what do you prefer, tea or coffee? Well, I prefer tea to coffee, but Kristen prefers coffee to tea. Which one do I prefer? Tea. That's right. The first item is what we choose. I prefer tea to coffee. I choose tea. Chris, do you prefer beer or wine? I prefer beer to wine, but Kristen prefers wine to beer. Chris, what do you prefer, tennis or baseball? I prefer baseball to tennis. My friend Bob prefers tennis to baseball. Okay, third form. In the third form, we use I prefer verbing. I prefer verb ing. Chris, do you prefer drinking tea or coffee? I prefer drinking tea. And what do you prefer, beer or wine? I prefer drinking beer, but my wife prefers drinking wine. And what do you prefer, tennis or baseball? I prefer watching baseball. I don't like tennis that much. Okay, the fourth form. In this fourth form, we use I prefer verbing to verbing. Do you prefer drinking coffee or tea? I prefer drinking tea to drinking coffee. Do you prefer watching sports or playing sports? Well, I prefer playing sports to watching sports. Chris, do you prefer listening to rock and roll or listening to jazz? I prefer listening to rock and roll to listening to jazz. Okay, so those are some examples. Now, I'll talk about what I prefer. So, I always drink tea in the morning. I prefer drinking tea to coffee. I don't like coffee, so that's an easy choice. I sometimes drink tea with a slice of lemon, but I prefer my tea plain, without lemon, sugar, or milk. How do you take your tea? How do you prefer your tea? Do you prefer adding sugar? I live in Germany now, but I lived in the USA 3 years ago. Right now, we prefer living here in Germany to living there in the United States. It's hard because I don't speak German very well, but we prefer Germany to America. I'm also learning languages, not English, but I'm learning languages too. I'm learning German and Japanese. I prefer learning Japanese because I do a Japanese martial art. But learning German is more important because we live in Germany. I prefer taking classes with a teacher to learning by myself. How about you? Do you prefer learning by yourself? Or do you prefer taking classes? I like playing sports. I prefer soccer to American football. But most Americans prefer American football to soccer. American football is the most popular sport in the United States. Which sport do you prefer? International football, soccer, or American football? I prefer playing sports to watching sports. But watching sports is also fun. But when I watch sports, I prefer watching them at home. I prefer not to go to the game. I prefer working in the morning. I don't like working at night that much. Sometimes I have to, but it isn't what I prefer to do. I also prefer teaching live, in person, face to face. I prefer that to teaching online, but both work. What do you prefer having for breakfast? Cereal? Oatmeal? Eggs? Or do you prefer having something else for breakfast? What do you prefer learning English with? With YouTube or with Spotify podcasts? Do you prefer studying in the morning to studying at night? Do you prefer pizza or broccoli? I prefer pizza to broccoli. How about you? What do you prefer? Next, talk about what you prefer. Make a YouTube video or make a recording with Vocaroo and post that in the comments. That way we can see what you prefer. Some words and phrases. To prefer, to like more, to choose one thing when you have to choose. Soda, a drink like Coca-Cola, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew. Wine, an alcoholic drink made from grapes. Jazz, a type of music. A slice, one piece of something like a piece of bread or a piece of lemon is a slice of bread or a slice of lemon. Martial art. These are things like kung fu, karate, taekwondo. Soccer. International football. What the world calls football, Americans call soccer. Live, in person, or face-to-face, in the same room together. I prefer teaching live. I prefer teaching in the same room as my students. Okay, everyone, that's all for today's video. In this video, I talked about what I prefer. How was it? Was it good? Was it easy to understand? I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I hope to see you again for the next video. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more. And if you want to book a class, my link is in the channel description. So thanks again, everyone, and remember, practice makes permanence. So work hard, listen carefully, and say what you mean. Thanks, guys. Bye.